You know that my voice is clear. Can someone tell me that?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
And you are the screen, right?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, okay, perfect. So, once again, hello everyone, and welcome to this class again, to this virtual class. Uh, this time, we are going to talk about a very important concept. Uh, It is actually, if you understand, at the beginning of the class, like in the first weeks, when I wanted to talk about the structure of the class, I told you that at the end, you will ask to do some kind of project. And for doing your project, one of the things that you need to do beside your project, I mean, like in your project, you have to use a technology which is version control system, okay, which will be this week and the next week. So that's why this week, or let's say this concept, is really important. We will divide it to two parts. I will explain later and what are these two, and that's why I want you to pay attention about this one, and as we go through you will understand. So this week we are talking about version control systems, specifically centralized version control system. Well, I divided the content of this class in three parts. At first, we will talk what is a version control system basically, and then what is a centralized version control system, which is this week. And in next week, we will talk about different version control. And then it would be introduction of subversion. Subversion is a version is one of the version control systems which we will talk about this week. So this is the core of today's class. And after finishing the presentation, we will do some practical work together so you will understand it, how it works in live on my screen. So first, as we promised, what is a version control system? Okay, here I made some keynotes about it. So a version control system, sometimes you might hear it as VCS. As you understand, it's like stands for version control system. Sometimes you might hear it like revision control, or sometimes you might hear it source control system. So all of them actually are the same. I wanted just to put all the names because different people might use it differently. But the main thing is version control system. So it's actually a software or a utility that tracks and manage changes to a file system. Okay, what do I mean by that? Let's make it simple. I mean, it's a tool. So far, understand it this much. It's a tool that is going to track changes in something. So what is that something? It is, for example, your project or your code or whatever you have chosen. You will see it later as well. So from now on, I might say a VCS, and I mean version control system. A VCS also gives you some abilities to collaborate with other people who are using version control system. So far we know that it's going to track the changes of our project, and also it's going to help us to collaborate with other people who are sharing same project with us. Okay. Uh, a VCS will track, as I said, the changes. By changes, I mean here. A VCS will track addition, deletion, or modification that applies to files and directories. So a project is basically files and directories. It's like your codes, your folders, or different things you have. So, I mean, we want to just look to these modifications, no matter they are adding something or deleting something. One term I want you to understand so far is repository here. So repository, many of you might heard about it already, but I will explain it later. A repository is a VCS or version control term, which describes when VCS is tracking a file system. So let's make it simple. What do I mean by that? I mean a repository is some kind of the project. It's some kind of a package that that is now you are working on. So we call it a repository, and we are working with repository. It's combination or package as of files and folders. So it's combination of basically, for example, when you have a project in your computer, and it includes files and folders, and you have some codes inside, it's basically a repository. But repository, it's a term. When we are working with version control system, we call this project something like that. So this package, the repository. So when you heard about it, just understand it. And so far, we have some source files, and we will going to monitor the addition, deletion, modification of this. And there are different version control softwares. Many of you might heard of Git, and we will explain Git completely in the next week, but now we just mentioned, or Mercurial or SVN, which is this week's software, and even Perforce. But we will go through it more. So, you might ask yourself why we need version control system. Okay, you might think, okay, I'm having a project in my laptop or my computer, and I have some files and folders, and I save it always locally, and it's work. And when I want to give it to a friend, I share it via, I don't know, Telegram or email or whatever, or even on a shared folder on network. But let's start it with a classical approach we all know, right? How many times it happens for you that no matter if you are working with a Word file or programming file or whatsoever, sometimes you save, for example, your code, and then later you change something in this code and you put it in different folder, and then you rename it. Okay, now I have some change. Then you rename it and you add, for example, something random at the end. For example, file 123. And then you change it again, and you say, oh, no, file, final. And then again, you change it, final file. It happens for us that sometimes when we are working with the big files, we do some changes over the time, and we locally name it ourselves. And after a while, but in real world, after a while, we lost track of our project. Like what did I do, for example, last month? What was the part before adding that part? You might it might happen to you, even not even with programming, even with editing a Word file. So technically, we all know this approach, and the problem here is after a while we lost track over our progress. So a VCS is not only about saving things. So it helps us with saving things and with keeping track of everything, but it is about versioning. So what do I mean by versioning? It means we just save the last version like a backup file. Actually, we keep track of changes during its evolution. It means we have it, for example, at the end of, with every change, with every line that is added to our project, we have a saved state for that. We know, for example, this day, this part added, that day, this part added, or even we are talking about like collaborating with users. For example, Ahmed added this part. Automatically version control will do us for us. And I don't know, David added this part. David and Ahmed, for example, fixed this file. So it keeps track and saves each steps in our projects. And with even specifying which user did what. So in a big scale, it will really help us. Okay. Let's talk what version control system. By now you might have a basic understanding why we need a version control system. I made it a meme here just to make it in a funny way, but you will always remember it. As you know, for example, if you save your file, maybe sometimes you can save your files in different locations, sometimes saving your codes in a cloud, so you never lost it, but using a version control, so you will understand and have each status. Okay, so let's highlight some of the key things that version control offer to us. So roll back and undo changes to source code. So as I already told you, it keeps track of each steps. Imagine you are now, for example, working on a project, and now your project is working, and then you want to add some features to it, right? For example, now you have a software, you want to, for example, make a like a button or something inside that project. So sometimes while you are changing and you are developing your code, you might by mistake you might like break it. You know, you add something and then, oh, it's not working. So you will have, it's like a time machine for you. Now you will have all the stages before, you will have the status that your software or project was working properly. You can roll back to the states you want, even not only the previous state, every state, even you can come back to the second state, first state, or even the last one. So you can undo and roll back changes to your project. Sometimes you discover a bug and then you will come back to the last good safe state before that bug, you know. And the other thing that a version control will offer us is conflict resolution. So imagine this scenario. We say that we are working in a project which is shared between a group. It's like a collaboration, the first thing I mentioned. So we are two people, and now the project is somewhere at the version control. And now two people access a specific file in the same time. It means, for example, user A is editing line 3, and in the same time, user B is going to edit the very line in that project. So these times, some conflict might happen. So there are some scenarios in the version control system that gives us the possibility to solve this concurrent to these conflicts that happening when we are working on a shared process in a company or in a group. Because in real world, actually, the big projects are not a solo projects that only one person is working on. So we have different people working on the same project, and sometimes some conflicts might happen. And the version control, actually all of them in different ways, help us to solve these conflicts. The other thing is, well, technically the most basic things, as you already save all the states, technically you are having a backup as well for different states as well. So imagine when you are using a version control system, your files are securely saved in a remote place. So no matter if your laptop is stolen, if your laptop is break, or if anything happens, you have everything safe somewhere that is, it could be a trusted third party. By trusted third party, I mean you can use websites like GitHub or any other websites that you trust, or even you can make, if you are working in like a good company, you can have your own server as well. So these are the main highlights that a version control will offer us. So basically, I'm telling this, the core is the same, but I'm telling it in different ways for you to understand. So let's say benefits of a version control system. So the main advantage of using a version control system is streamlining the development process. You remember in the previous slides, I told you we are watching the evolution of our software. So you are actually streamlining the development of the process. So the management of your code will be easier now. Like at what moment, which part of your work has been changed. Even there are some scenarios that you have multiple projects. You're not going to work on just one project. You're now, for example, today you're working on this and next day you're working on that. So you might do some, let's say, you cannot manage it yourself, especially in big scale. So it helps you to streamline the development process of your project. Well, and as already we mentioned, it saves all the changes in repository. By now, you know what is repository. It's the package of our work that includes codes and everything we have. So as we already said, if some mistake happen, you can undo it and you can fix it. And also, that's the other thing is many IDEs. We have what is IDE in our, I think it was the third or fourth week that you're working, for example, let's say if you're working, I think now with C#, you're having like Visual Studio or whatever, they have some tools that they can integrate version control system with the IDE. So you can work it, you can save and do version controlling automatically and very, very nice and easy. So you can integrate it with other softwares or IDEs as well. So let's summarize it. The need for VCS, the need for version control system. You are having an overview is on your workflow, on your team workflow, and also projects in real world, because you know, even in your class, that you will be given some project, you will work on it in a group of 3 or 4 or something like that. And when you're working in a group, maintaining a same project between different people would be easier with version control. Even if you are working as a solo maintainer, still it will be beneficial for you. Why? As I told you, you can roll back to changes, you can have different projects at the same time, and so on. So actually, in a real world, a professional, the last item, the professional programmer or the professional maintainer will always use a VCS. You know, at first you might say to yourself, okay, why it was always working, like without a version control, it's always, I was doing my project and I didn't need it. Okay, but you might at first think, okay, what's something extra difficult and these things, but it will save you when your work is like as a professional programmer, because there are some things that will happen for you, like losing your code, having different projects with yourself, and even sometimes, for example, you will be offered a project and you will think to yourself, I will done something similar. Then you will back to your project and continue from the project which was similar, you already done it, and continue it as a branch. So technically, with all your works, with even the simplest program you are coding, even a simple calculator, it's recommended for you to make yourself to use a version control system. So let me show you how is a real project looks like. You know, this blue line, technically it is called trunk, as you might guess by now, because it's looked like a trunk, and it's the main, let's say, main streamline of a project during the time. For example, you start a project, then you go to version 1, then version 1.1, and so on, and it's your development. So this is the trunk. Trunk means our main line for development. Okay, now imagine you are working on a specific, let's say, feature in your project. If you are changing your main project and change it directly from here, and imagine something bad happens, you will understand that, for example, it's not going to work, or with any reason, it's risky to change, to do your changes in your big changes. By changes, I don't mean like a simple changes, like something revolutionary, like changing a version. Assume you are Microsoft and you're for example having, let's say, I'm just giving you example. Windows, for example, you're making Windows 7, and now you want to, for example, add features for Windows 10, which is completely different thing. You don't change add slowly to the project because you might break both projects. So you do some branches like this, as you see the green lines, and you go parallelly with your main project. And when you say, okay, now I'm safe, then you switch it to your merge it with your main project, which is trunk. So you do some branches for different versions, let's say, and you will continue your main development simultaneously. And when you tested your software, you tested your features, then you merge it with your main project. So a version control will help us. Why did I tell that actually? Because a version control will help you to branch things like this and then merge the new features with current features so your project wouldn't break. I just want to give you overview that why we need it and how we use it. Okay. Basically, the architecture of a version control system can be in two ways: distributed version control system and centralized version control system. This week, we are going to talk about centralized, but one good thing is, well, because both, next week we will go to the distributed, but since both of them are a version control, so it means like we have the basics of our next week within this presentation as well. For the next week, we will skip the introduction and basic stuff, and we will go directly to what is distributed one. So, as I said, we have a distributed version control system and centralized. As an example, SVN is what we are going to work now. CVN is an older version of SVN. So SVN is a more modern version of CVN and Perforce. And distributed, which are more famous and which are more widely used. You definitely heard of GitHub or maybe even looked at GitHub and so on. So Git is a kind of distributed version control system, which we will cover next week. So you might say, what is the difference between centralized and distributed version control system? You might guess it by the name by now. You know, the main difference is a centralized version control system keep the history of changes on a central server, and everyone will request from the server directly. And now it might be a bit unclear for you, like what I'm saying, but I will show you in a image, so you will have a better understanding. By now, only it's better for you to. I only want you to know that in centralized version control system, everything is at the center, and everyone will ask that center part. It's like, for example, one of you of your group is responsible for ticket that you are going to buy for something, and everyone will ask to your let's say your guy or your girl which is responsible. So in centralized, we have a center that our repository is there, and we will do our changes and get the new changes from that center. But in distributed, which I don't talk with details this week, I only want to show the difference. We have a center, but there is a difference here that everyone has their own copy and then do the changes on their own copy. And when they are sure that they are at the good states, they will send this copy to the main server. So you have like a intermediate level in distributed, which is it's like that. You have a center, you copy the server for yourself, then you work on the copy, and then you will send it back. But in centralized version, you directly work with the center. That's it. So I will show you with the image so you will understand better. You see, now you can have a better understanding. This is a centralized version control system. This is a server that our repository is there. It means, like, let's assume it as our project. Our project is there, and we have, for example, different people on PC1, PC2, and PC3. and each of them are working on a working copy. It means like a copy of a repository, right? And we directly, for example, I do, let's say this is me, this is, for example, user 2 and user 3. I am do some changes on code, and then user 2 updates his working directory and see the changes, and again he will do his own changes and so on. So it's like we have a shared center that we all do our changes directly there. That's centralized version control system. And the main idea here is that there is a single central copy, as you saw here, single central copy that everyone, programmers, will commit their changes to this central copy. So the benefit of centralized version control system, well, first I must say that centralized is the first introduced version controls, then people switch to the distributed ones. So it's easier to understand, and as for a start, and it's easier to control. The main thing for the version with centralized version control system, it's you can handle it easier because you have directly access to your repository. So okay, now what is distributed one? As I already told you, that in the centralized one, this working directory was directly connected to the repository. But in distributed one, you have a copy here, and I said you will work on your own copy. He will work on his own copy, and the third user as well. And they will have access of all changes that was before getting the project was in the server. So everyone will get a copy of the project and also a history of changes that I already told you. That basically a version control system is about you understand what was the changes during the time. So you will get a project and a catalog beside the project which shows you what was the history, how the project was changes up until the moment you got it from the server. And then you will do your commit update, and then when it was at a good state, you will send it here. And other people now can see it. Even you can send it to the other people directly. So once again, look at this one. It is simply connected just with one stage, but here it's distributed. We will cover it in next week. I just wanted for you to understand the difference. A distributed version control, as I said, each developer clones or copies of a repository and also a full history, I told you, of the project on their own hard drive, and then work with it. What is the benefit of this? So now the performance of distributed is better, branching and merging is easier, but you will have more comments. For example, one of the good things is, as I said, you will copy, see here, you will copy a repository in your own computer, and now you're working with your own repository. It means you don't need internet or any interconnection when you are working for your on your repository. Only when you want to send your repository to the server, you need it. So it means most of the works you need and you will do, that you don't need any network activity. You do it in your own system. And then for pulling and pushing means sending to server, you will need connections. You will understand it when I will show it to you practically. So now we know what is a version control, and also we know what is a distributed version control, and now what is a centralized version control system. Now, in this week, we are going to work with a centralized one, and our choice here is Subversion. Subversion is, as I said, it's part of Apache project, And it's also in the short form, it's called SVN. It's open source project. You can download it and install it for your operating system. I will show it to you now. Let me, so yeah, I clicked here. So this is the website. I clicked it, that's why it's open here. Let me minimize it. Oh, it's on my system, it's not. Okay, so it's you just simply, you will have the address in the presentation which will be put on Moodle, but you simply go to binary package and you will see for different operating systems, you will have it, for example, if you're using Linux or if you're using, I just want to show you something because for Windows. For Windows, there are different implementation of this SVN, which I recommend you to install Tortoise SVN. It's also have some GUI or let's say GUI for you that make it easier for you. So at first you have to install it on your, if you want to work with SVN, you have to install a SVN client for you, which one of your choice is this one. You can install your the version you want. So let's go back to our presentation. So it's Subversion, and you can download and install it here. So basically, let me show you what is the, let's say, approach and how you should work with it. First of all, you have to install a preferred version control software on your system. Here, SVN, I told you this is step already. Then you can create, if you are creating a new, like you want to start a project, you create a new repository, or sometimes there is a repository already existed and you just connect to the existing repository via comments. You can do it with comments or even like with GUI. Then you will make a copy of repository on your system, working directory. It means you copy from server to your system. Then you do the changes. And when you want to, when your changes is done, you will send it back to the server and you will update it. So it's just the core. And I want you to show you some comments that you need to know while working with Subversion, and also some concepts. I will show these comments, like I will do it on my own computer and I will show it for you so you will have like easier understanding rather than just theoretical. But at first I will mention it. First of all, you have to know what is SVN working copy. A working copy, I already told you, it is a copy of a repository in your system. So a SVN server is the main server that project is on, and SVN client program is the thing that I showed you. You install it, no matter it's Linux or Windows, and it has some metadata. Metadata means, by metadata I mean those history and those stuff and everything that shows how a program or how a project has been changed so far. So let's say, make it simple. A working copy is a directory that you are working on. There are some comments. The first one is SVN checkout. It means creating a working copy. It means, for example, you have a repository and it's on internet. It means, or on a server. It means it has a path, like here. And then you, with this command, with this syntax, I put it in presentation. So later when you want to work yourself, you will have like easier access to the comments. SVN checkout, or it's by here, I mean, or you can, it's the short form is CO, or you can completely put checkout. SVN checkout and the URL path. It will copy a working directory in your system. So it's creating. SVN commit, it's one of the most important comments. I will talk them like briefly because I know you have to see it yourself to understand it, but I just want to know what is it. SVN commit, it means actually when you do some changes, when you do something in a project, Now you want to send it to a server. Actually, it is the thing that sends your changes into the server. So it is really important. And the structure is like that, just SVN commit and -m. M means message and a log message. For example, I mean the explanation you want to put while doing your change. For example, I will do some changes and I changed, for example, file 3, and I will write SVN commit -m. Here I will write it for so on others will understand. I will just simply write I have changed that file, something like that. SVN list, very simple command. It just shows you what are in your current working directory. SVN add, it means, when sometimes a project is already, I told you, already exists on internet, and you getting it from internet and do your changes. But sometimes you are creating a project. It means at first you have to add all your files and folders, or even sometimes there is something already exists, but you want to add something into it. Here, in these situations, you have to use this comment. For example, SVN add anything that you want to be added. Or sometimes you want to add everything. You just put a star and you will write SVN add a star. Everything will be added to your project. But if you want to send it to a server, I put it here so you understand. After every change, if you want, you are changing in your own computer. If you want anything to be logged or to be saved in server, you have to do the commit command, which I told you. That's why I said it's the most important thing one. So SVN add, SVN delete, I don't talk with details. Basically, you will understand. You cannot, in SVN projects, you cannot delete it. I will show you, but you cannot delete just by normal deleting, because it will delete it in your computer, but not in the server. So this is simply deleting something. SVN diff, it displays difference between difference of a file during the time. For example, imagine I have a file, it has a name, no matter, file X, and I will write SVN diff file name. It will show me that how this file changed during the time, and I will understand, okay, this time user 1 did something, this time user B did something, and so on. And even let me show you here. Yeah, SVN, the last line, SVN -R, R1 or R2. It means if I put this argument before diff, it only shows the difference between version 1 and version 2. Here you see version 1 and version 2. And yeah, it pops up and doesn't let me to show you, but I think you will understand it. Let me, okay, you see R1 and R2, it will show you, for example, between just a specific period of time from the version 1, like revision 1 to revision 2, how this file was changed. SVN status shows you the status of your working directory. For example, sometimes you do some changes, but you forgot to send it to your server. It will shows you that, okay, you did some changes which you haven't put in your server. I will show it to you like practically, and you will see. SVN log displays a log message, like basically it's a log. It shows you a history of what you have done so far. So SVN move, just moving directory to another directory. SVN move from source to destination. And one of the most other important thing is SVN update. It updates your working directory. It means, for example, you are working on a repository and some other guy had do some changes on the server. With SVN update, you will get the last updates and then you will work with it. So I just of course, I don't expect you just by mentioning them, you know them and you know how to work with them. I will show to you the basic parts and the most important parts. I just want you to understand it, so when you see it, you don't. It's not something you have no idea of. So basically, now it's the theoretical part was done, and I'm going to switch and show you what I'm going to how can we work with it. So let's you know, basically there are many websites on internet, many services on internet which offers you to use Git distributed or centralized version control system. The most famous one that everyone have heard is GitHub, which is a distributed one, which this week we don't want to work on. There are many other websites that gives you this ability to create centralized version control system. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, and some of them for some limited, let's say, access are free, which I'm going to show you. For example, one of them. Let me open a new tab. And for example, if this week, if you go to Perforce, I will go to the Perforce. This is the website we are going to work. You see, they have some products. If I click on products, one of them is version control, you see? And the thing which we are going to work is Helix Hub theme. I click on here, you see, simply here, and I will say try for free. If you use a free version, like you can have 5 people at the same time working on a project. If you want to have more people, of course, you will get the paid version. And as you see here, it's up to 5 users and 1 GB storage. You just simply, if you want to create, you just simply press try free, and then just like creating an email, you create it, and when you created it, it will gives you some dashboard that now you can work on. So simply you can go to this website and you create one for yourself. But I will use another link, which another, let's say, project which I already created, and I will show you how I'm going to work with that, and also I will give you the access for that later. In Moodle you will see, then you can connect and see the changes and do the changes. Okay, let's assume that we have created it, because I don't want the time to create a new one. This is the same Helix Hub which I have created. I will close it, and it would be something like that. And as I said, this is not part of SVN, which I'm going to talk about. I'm just showing you a website which gives you this ability. You can do SVN on many different websites as well. This is just a sample for you. Okay. Basically, you create a project, and let's move test project, and you can have some description and so on. So now I have a project. It's called test project. Then I will go to the repository part. And now I don't have any repository except this one, which is automatic things that is created that we don't want to work with it. So I will go, and here I will create a new repository for myself. It could be different things. It could be Git, which is a distributed one. These are distributed. Subversion is the SVN, the thing that I want to create now. Once again, this can be different in different websites. This is just one sample. This is not exactly part of the centralized course which I'm telling you. It's just a company that gives us this ability to work with SVN. So I created, let's call it class class SVN project. Yeah, and I will put create. So now we have an empty, let me move it here. I have an empty repository. So I create a repository which is empty. Now let's work with it, and let's work from the scratch. Sometimes there are some projects which already have some files, but sometimes it's completely new that you have to build it yourself. Okay, you know, here you usually have a path that a web server or a website will give you. I will copy, oh, sorry. This is a path of my repository here. I copy it, simply copy it, and let me open a terminal. So basically, if you have a SVN installed, no matter if it's Linux or Windows, I told you how to install it. If you have it installed, you with SVN command, you have it. Now it says because I didn't put anything at the end, you will have this SVN command if you install it. Let's go to a folder called class. I already created it. It can be anything. I just put it because to be related to the class. Let's see what is here. Okay, Doxygen is for previous class. Now, as I said, when I want to create to connect to a new project, I use checkout command here. You see, so simply if I copy it here, it will connect to. It will make a copy of my project. So, but I will write it. I will SVN check out and the address which is there, and the user which is when you create a project. The first time you are the only users, but sometimes you see you can add different users as well. Like you can have 5, 4 users as well. Then you put the username here like that. Sorry. And name of the username. For example, I would put, I already have this in my project. So I will put it here. It's my computer password. So that's it. The project is now created. You see, before that I put a list of the files here. It was these folders, and now I put ls. This one, class SVN, which is something I added here. Class SVN is added here. So if I put SVN log, I'm going to get an error, but I will explain why. You see, I put it here and it says error. It is not the class. This is not a working directory because I didn't enter to this folder yet. So I just wanted to show you sometimes you might face this and you say, oh, I'm getting an error, but this is not an error. You have to be inside your working directory always. So I will put like cd class SVN. So now I have it. I would just write like SVN list to list of the files. So nothing here, right? Let me open a file browser. So class, I want you to see it live. So you see, this is the folder. This is class SVN. This is the folder now I'm in, and nothing is here except this one. What is this actually? We don't do anything with this, and we don't change it. It's the metadata that SVN is using for let's say keeping the history and stuff. So it's automatically managed by the SVN. So we don't do anything with it. So let's add some folders here. For example, I can create 4, 5, 10 folders or whatever I want. But I will do something. This part is not about SVN, it's about Linux. I just want to create 10 folders at the same time. So let's say FL as a like folder. I want to create 10 folders, but this part is not related to SVN. I just want to make it fast. And then touch FLD. Yeah, if you are like Linux user, this command will create. I want to make like a project for Altaf. This command will create 10 folders for me, and inside each of them, one file. See? So I just wanted to show you like it's just something that just a made up project, so we know, so we can work on and see how it's going to be. It can be anything. It can be your code. It can be any type of folder. So this part is not about SVN. So assume that each of these folders is part of your project, and you will have, for example, different files in your project. So this file is empty now because I just made it. So now, as you see here my project is empty. Okay, and let me refresh it. So this, you will see this here. You won't see, but I just want to give a point. You see, I refresh it here. Nothing happened here. You see no file, no folders which I created here. Why? Because I told you, you have to add everything. When you create something new, you have to add it, and then you have to commit it. So what do I mean by that? I mean SVN add. I want to add everything here. So I put star. It's SVN told me this folder, one file, these are added. Okay, now it should be here, right? No, it shouldn't. I just want to show you why no. Because I told you that everything is being on your own computer unless you do a commit. So commit is your gate to your server. So let's do SVN commit -m. Usually people write as the first comment, they use initial commit, but it's not necessary. It's just something we commented. But I will instead of that, I will say initial commit 10 folders and files added. That's it. You know, this is the message. So now it do some transaction. So let's see what happens here. I do some commit, and these are added to our repository, and it says committed revision 1. It means it's the first time, first version or first history of track of our project. Next time, if I do some changes, it will be, for example, revision 2, right? So now let's see what happens here. See, now that I do commit, it is now in the server, and with this command, initial commit, 10 folder added, and like in 3 minutes ago. And if I go inside one of them, you will see the file here. So let me come back. Oops. Okay, here. And here you can see the history of your file. As I said, one of the main tasks of version controlling is to having a history. Here, for example, this website gives us in this style the history, and I can see at first at this time initial commit has been added, and by who? By Sina, for example, right? So that's it. Now let's change a file and see what will happen. For example, imagine this is part of the project, and I open it and I say, for example, content, content added something. It's just nothing. And I am saving it, and that's it. So by now you understand that if I refresh it and I open that file, it's still empty. But I will do my commit. Let's do the commit. So I just want you to understand how is the routine of work. So I will say Why don't I put add now? Because I didn't add anything new. I only changed. So I will write commit -m, for example, content added for first step. It can be anything. It can be, for example, I fixed this part of the code or whatsoever. So it automatically understands which file and which folder has been changed. You see, folder 1, file, because the others haven't been changed. If it was other thing changed, for example, in folder 6, it would have been changed as well. And as you see here, committed revision 2. So now if I go, for example, in folder here, and now see, the thing that I have added here now is here. So okay, so let's do another thing. For example, I will do in folder 2, I will do something, and let's say SVN no, content for example, programming something. Okay. Now I will get status SVN. I told you, for example, SVN status. Sometimes I did some changes, but I didn't know if I committed or not. So SVN status. Let's see what will happen. It says folder 2 file has been modified, but not committed. You will understand. Ah, okay. So let's be committed. So SVN commit -m programming line fixed. So, right? And okay, now it's and then committed. So now if I put SVN status, nothing happened because I already committed it, right? So let's assume now we have a project here, right? Let's assume now we have another let's say user that is going to, for example, continue with this project, or we have a programmer who added to our project. Let me open another terminal here, right? And I will go to the same folder, so ls here. Okay, now I have this checkout link. I will copy it here. And some other user is now joined to our project. Just let me show the users. Okay. Sorry, let me make it bigger. Okay, so imagine there is a new user, and I want the first user was my name. If you remember, it was like SVN, like checkout, and the user was Sina. Now there is another user who just joined, SVN checkout. So I'm basically doing the progress again, once again. I will do the checkout and the address, which is this. And this time username is, for example, this username, which is in our project. Yes. And basically, why it doesn't want password from me? Because I already entered password once in my computer. For the second one, it doesn't ask. But if you, for example, is the first time you're doing it, it will ask you for the password as well. So I will. So it's, you see, it was the revision 3 here, and here check out version 3. So let's see. Go to cd class SVN. So you see, the other user has it again. But let me do something better, because I want to have it with different name, because I don't want to like I don't want, let's say, I want to differentiate between these two. That's why I want to create it in another folder. So let me go out, cd, so ls. So instead of class SVN, I will SVN check out this folder, username WPV, and here, if I put a name, I would put like new, just new. So let me go up. You see, this is this one for this is for our first user, and this is the new user. So this is SVN. This is this user, and the previous one is this user. Okay, so we have now both have the access to the file. So let's go to the new, and you see I have changed this file and this file. Let me open it. You see this file is here, and this file I added. This is here. So now, as you see, why I didn't put SVN add star, because I am not the one who created the folders. This user did. I'm just joined to the existing project. So one of the most important things that might happen in the version controlling when two people are working on the same project is, let's say, conflicting. I told you, for example, two files, two users are going to change one file in repository. Okay, let's see what will happen if, for example, this user and this user are both going to change something. Let me make this a bit more clear. Let me move it somewhere. I will put it somewhere, and then I will here, okay, and class. So so what happened now? I will put it here. Okay, so this is the one user, which is Sina, my name. Okay, and this is the folder he has been created. This is his working directory. This is this user, and this is his working directory. So I just put it all together so you can see it better. So let's see one of the user is changing something. Let's say, let's work on this folder, right? Folder 10. Now it's empty. I will say like Sina added content, and I am saving it. So now here it's empty. Why? Because this user hasn't committed it. So let's commit it. SVN commit -m added to file 10, let's say. So now here is changed, but here is changed again. No, why? Because I haven't updated it. So because it's my own directory, it is sent to the, here you can see it. Let's say folder 10. Here you can see it because it's sent to server, right? But this user hasn't updated. He's still working with previous revision 3, right? Now he's at revision 4. So I will put SVN update. So it says you are not in a working directory. See the problem? Because I should be in this folder. cd new. Now SVN update. Updated to revision 4. So now we are both at the same level. So let's see. You see? Now it's visible. So it means if any user, let's say this is Ahmed and this is, for example, David. If Ahmed do some changes and commit to the server, David wouldn't see it unless he updated his file, and now he will see it. Okay, so now let's see if what happens if a conflict happens. What do I mean by that? For example, this user, now it is just one line was filled. Here, just one line was filled. Okay, now this user will add something for himself. Let's say, for example, I am Sina, and here. And he's added here. So if I update it here, it will come here. No. Why? Because I haven't committed here, right? So if I, for example, do anything here, and let's say I will, let's say now for this user, let me explain it again. Here, this user has 2 lines of code, but this user has 1 line of code, and these are not updated to server. So let me update it for this user, SVN, I mean committed, to send it to server. My name added. So now it's at revision 5. This is still revision 4. So as you see here, now this is what is in server. Let's check the server, which is here. Let's refresh it. See, now on server it is this, but here this user hasn't updated. Let's think that this user has no idea that this user has updated the server and wants to put something in the second line. We already know that the previous user added something. So let's see what will happen. I will say new user here. So that was Sina, this is new user. So, and I'm saving it. So if I want to commit it now, on server, the second line is already filled. So let's see what will be happened. So SVN commit. I just wanted to show you a scenario. New user added something. I've given an error. You see, it says SVN says the file is out of date. So what does it mean? It means while from the time that I have got the file up until now that I'm going to do some new commits, the project on the server has been changed, which we changed it here. So at first you have to do the last update, then you can do the commit. Okay, I will say I will do update, no problem. Okay, you see, it's understood that a conflict happens because you are going to update the second line and it is already changed with by another user. So it gives us some possibilities, like postpone it to put it for later, show the difference, edit file, or merge it. You can choose. But you see here, something automatically SVN did it for us. Let's see the content so you can understand. You see, this is, for example, the first one that Sina was added. Sina was our first user. And then new user added. It says, for example, here and here, something added in between. It's not really smart, but at least it understood something happens here. So I will close it. And it says mine, you know, that text that mine. It says your style is like that, the thing that you had, new user here. And before any commit, it was like that. And on server, it is like that. So I want to say merge my version and the other version as well. You see, it gives me an option. It says M for merge. I will put M. And it says, okay, you want to merge? No problem. and it says like I am Sina here, and this is new user here. This is one thing that you added. This is that one thing is conflict here. Their version, your version. Okay, what should I do? I will, for example, it gives you different options. For example, edit their version, edit your version, and or their version first, then yours. And I will go with this, but you depending on the project, you can decide. Okay, and for this, I will put like this number. It says 12 for this, and I will say okay. Now that I have did the comment like their version first and then my version, it gives you okay. The problem is solved. If it's solved, or you can again do the other option. Again, you can edit it, or again you can merge it. I will write R. You see here, R means mark as resolved. It means I already fixed it. It means what? Because I chose their version first, then my. So let's say I will mark it as resolved. See, all the files are gone. And now what happened here? So you see, this is the first thing. This is the thing that the first user was put at the second line. This is the thing that I wanted to put at the second line, but I couldn't. And I said, put their version first, then mine. So you see, it detects the conflicts and then help me to go through it to fix myself, fix my version. So this is one of the most important things that you should know, like about resolving the conflicts. So this was one of the things I wanted really to show you. And now let's see, use the diff comment. You see, let's go to the website. If I refresh it, oh, it's not here because I haven't committed it. Let me commit it. Committed, yeah. Problem solved. Now it's revision 6. Now let me refresh it. You see, now the problem is fixed. For example, this website has some kind of history here. You see, for example, my name added, problem solved, this. Now, let's assume that I want to know, see the differences in this file during the time. So let's switch to the folder. It's FLD10, right? FLD10. So you see, this is the file.txt. I will put SVN diff and file.txt. Okay, now because if I have added something and then change it, it shows the difference of that file. But now because I committed it, it doesn't show anything. So let me do some changes here. Fourth line, just something. Now if I put, you see, if I put it again, it says, for example, fourth line, this with this plus sign. It means like this now changed with this line. And if so, I can understand, okay, I have changed it. It says, for example, the revision is showing this style and working copy is working with these plus signs. So it means this is unworking copy, which is added. So that was one of the other things, like diff shows you the differences. SVN dash SVN comment and fourth line added. So it's now fixed as well. So what the other things, for example, I want you to know to see the log file. You know, let me go up. If I put SVN log, it gives me the thing that you are seeing here. You see here. You see this here. For example, some websites might not have this ability, so you can see it easily. You can do it by comment. initial folder, you remember we did it all together. 10 folder added, revision 2 is that, revision 3 is that, revision 4 is that, and so on. So that's it here. And if I, let's say now, if I delete a folder, let's delete folder, let's say folder 9. I move it here, right? And then I put commit. SVN commit -m file, no, folder 9 deleted. You see, nothing has changed here. Why? Because I told you, if you want to delete something in SVN, these are less important things, but I want you to know. You have to do it with the SVN delete themselves. You cannot right click here and simply put it in trash. You should use SVN delete. So now if I put SVN update, it's like we didn't do anything. Automatically you will see folder 9 will become back. See? Now we have it here. So if you want to delete something, you should, for example, SVN delete and then FLD, for example, 9. If I put this, now it's deleted. And then I put the commit. I told you after everything you have to commit. Folder deleted. See, now it's deleted. And if I go in my, let's say, repositories here, see, folder 9 is not here. Okay. Now, I told you you can do some rollback. Now, it's revision 8, right? I want to, for example, come back to the revision 6, let's say. I will put SVN update, just -r means revision you want 5. So at revision 5, you had folder 9. So it should be come back. You see? Now it's come back. So as you see how good it is, you can simply go back to the states that you know. You can go, you can fix the, it automatically detects conflicts for you and for your other users that will happen and or might happen, and so on. So it will help you during, I completely understand. At the beginning, it might not be like, let's say, easy for you to do. For example, you change a code, assume all of them are part of programming code. You change a code and then you do some commit to say, oh, why should I do that, you know? But you will understand it will be useful for you. And I have taught you this in command line mode. In command line mode, I said it in this way because if you work with command line, then no matter where are you working, which software you are working, which operating system you are working, it will always work. For example, if you are working with Visual Studio, there are some plugins, for example, for your C# that do all of these for you automatically. For example, you will see a command in Visual Studio and you just put it, for example, there's a command called commit. You just click on commit and it will automatically, it's like writing this for you. So I'm saying, yes, there are some tools that make this revisioning, that makes these things easier for you. But even those graphical things will use this. I taught you the core and the down level of it, so you can understand it by the core. So that's, yeah, this was just introduction and basics of version controlling. And also what we did actually this week was we said, what is version controlling? We said we have two different architecture of version controlling, centralized and distributed. Then we went to a centralized one. We said what is the aspects of a centralized one. And then we reviewed some of its most important comments. And then we made like a simple project for ourselves. and did the stuff here. So for this week, actually, I don't want to give anything as assignment that you have to do this or do that, but instead, by the afternoon, or let's say by night, if you check Moodle, I will put it after the class, so by night it should be there. I will tell you how to use a website, like which website you should use, or which project. I might even give you some links to, or some even user of password of a sample project, so you can just make a working copy for yourself, but work with it, but try to change with it, but try to resolve a conflict with it. So rather than something specific that you have done, I want you to try it. Why? Actually, because it is one of the, yeah, I know it took more than other classes, but because it is one of the most key aspects of the software development that you should be able to work with version controlling. You might already know, like most big projects in the world, like no matter Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, all of them use this kind of structure. For example, you might see them in the GitHub, which is a distributed type of version controlling, which we will talk about it next week, and so on. So by now, our week is, let's say, done. And thank you for your attendance. And if you have any questions, I'm here to listen.
No, thank you, Mr.
No,
Singer.
thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I understand this might be a little bit tricky to start at the beginning. And if you feel, some of you I know already know this stuff. Yeah, I know. But for those of you who hasn't experienced with it, getting to know version controlling might look confusing, but I just want to know it's completely natural and you will get to know it. I will put even some extra links so you can learn as well.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So if anyone has any question, I have anyone else rather than those who already said, I'm here, else we can end the class, but feel free to ask anything, or even you can send me email.
Okay, sir, we will check it and we will let you know if you have any questions.
Sure. Okay, perfect. So have a good day and take care. So see you next week.
See you, sir. You too.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Bye. Bye.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Very welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.